Hi, and welcome to the Allendale Chamber Chat. I'm Janessa Smith, Executive Director for the Allendale Area Chamber of Commerce. And today I have guest Darlene Diemer, owner of Diemer Accounting and Payday Solutions here in Allendale. And she's joining us to talk about PPP and loan forgiveness. So, Darlene, a lot of people have applied for or received the PPP loan. And now it's time they're asking about how do they get that portion of the loan forgiven?
That's a common question that we are hearing in our office as well. So the loan forgiveness has to happen through the bank that you applied for the PPP loan through. The SBA started accepting applications for loan forgiveness on August 10, but that doesn't mean that your bank is actually ready for you to start them yet. There were a lot of changes that came through at the last minute. The banks are having a little bit of a catch-up time here with getting their portals and so forth ready for these forgiveness applications with some of the changes. So your bank should be letting you know, or you're able to reach out to them as well and just check if they have their application process ready, then you would be able to go ahead and get started with that.
What kind of documentation can businesses expect to see that they'll need to provide, or what do they need to start pulling or keeping track of right now?
They would want to make sure that they've got their documentation ready for their payroll. That's going to be a big piece of it. And most of the time you're going to be connecting with your payroll provider for that information. They're also going to need information on utility bills that they have paid. So they will need copies of those bills along with copies of canceled checks or proof of payment on those. They will also need copies of rent and the payments associated with that, along with a copy of their lease agreement for that rent. And in some cases, they're going to need copies of their mortgage interest that was paid as well if they have a situation where they own the building they're in.
So a lot of documentation to keep track of. What months would that be for? Do they need to?
So that's going to be for their covered period, which that can actually be two different things. The original covered period was set up to be an 8-week time span, and that would begin on the date that you received your funding, not the actual date that you signed your loan documents. So the date that you received your funding in the bank is when your covered period begins. For loans that were taken out prior to June 5, you can go with the 8-week covered period, or you would be required to go with the 8-week covered period. You can also elect a 24-week covered period. I should clarify on that. I kind of misspoke there. You may use the 24-week period for any loan that was taken out. The only loans that would have the option of using the 8-week period would be those that were taken out prior to June 5. So that would begin your covered period, and depending on which time frame you're going with will determine which bills you will need, but it will be everything within your covered period that you're electing.
Okay, it's changing rapidly.
It is. It's been very difficult to try to keep clients apprised of what's going on because things change so rapidly with all of this.
Mm-hmm. And you've been doing a great job in sending out the communications and keeping your clients informed. And that's we wanted to be sure to have you on and try to explain this. So is there a timeline when like you've missed your window to apply for forgiveness? Have they said that yet, or?
Yeah, so initially it was going to be a much tighter timeline, but again, in a lot of the changes that they put through, they have now expanded that. So people actually have 10 months from the end of their covered period that they're electing to apply for the forgiveness. So kind of took the pressure off on everyone to be able to get everything together they need. The other thing that was nice about the extension on that time frame is it's also giving us some time to see what happens with a bill that is been put forth. They have a bill on the table right now that would potentially provide automatic forgiveness for loans of $150,000 or less. And what that would mean is for those people, there would be just a one-page form where they're going to consent that they have used the funds according to the purposes of the loan documents. And they would be required to keep any documentation to support that for a 3-year time frame. So it could be looked at if the SBA wanted to review the loan, but it would eliminate them having to go through that whole forgiveness process.
So that would be great, but
It would be
probably
great.
don't count on it. Maybe.
Don't count on it. We don't
I mean,
know if it's going to gain traction or not. But for our clients, we've definitely suggested that we hold off for the time being to kind of see what happens with that bill.
mhm,
If it would be passed, that would be huge for small businesses. It would save money,
mhm,
preparation costs on
right.
that, a lot of time involved on the client side, gathering all the documentation. So
But still plan as if somebody's going to come back and ask for it, probably.
yeah, you still
You know,
need to make
still-
sure that you're keeping all the backup documentation.
Yeah,
You can
that's
prove
always good.
it's used as intended.
Well, let us know what you hear on that, and we'll watch out for that. That would be just a huge time saver and resource saver for a lot of small businesses. But
For sure.
yeah, well, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
And if I'm assuming if clients have questions that their bank can't help them with, or if they need additional financial guidance or have questions, they should reach out directly to their accountant. You should always have a great small business accountant on your team. So thanks so much, Darlene. We greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too.